The 1967 Eldorado represents one of the pinnacles of GM design and perfectly exemplifies why GM was on top of the design world throughout the 1960s. It's one of those cars that from no matter where you look, it really doesn't have a bad angle. From the rear three-quarter view to the front three-quarter to the dead-on front and rear to the side profile, every angle simply presents a different facet of mobile sculpture. Led by Stan Parker and his assistant Ed Taylor, the team of Don Roper, Alan Young, and Wayne Kady were responsible for the 1967 Eldorado's design. And one member of that team, Wayne Kady, would go on to lead Cadillac design from 1974 until the late 1980s, designing a number of vehicles, including the Bustleback Seville. Wayne was also the chief designer on the 1971 Eldorado, which succeeded the 67 to 70 generation. If you haven't yet seen it, please check out the link in the description for an interview with Wayne as he talks about the development of the 67 Eldorado and shares some of his personal sketches. But for now, we're going to take a walk around this car, Wayne's personal 1967 Eldorado, finished with a black exterior, black vinyl roof, as well as a black leather interior. Let's take a listen in as he talks about some of the finer points of its design and development. Here's Wayne talking about the car's distinctive D-line, or the panel between the roof and the rear quarter panel, and how the design team developed it.
Design, which gave us a more formal look.
Okay.
And yet we wanted a sporty feel to it. And it almost sounds like an oxymoron, doesn't it? But anyway,
you wanted a sporty luxury...
a sport luxury look. A sportier look for Cadillac.
Okay, sporty look for Cadillac.
Yes. And we think that gave it to us. And then, of course, this little feature right here, in combination with the vertical D-line, is kind of a nice feature. And I think that's something that evolved over a period of time.
And why does this vertical D-line connote luxury? What about it is?
It probably goes back to some of the classics. You know, the expensive cars. I really don't know where to put it exactly. But, you know, if you look back at a lot of the old classic cars, you know, they were chauffeur driven.
I see.
And they had like areas that were more private for the passengers.
It's like a privacy almost enclosure in the back seat.
I guess you can say that. But you know, this got a V'd backlight too. That's an unusual feature, and I don't know that I don't remember anybody else doing that. And to get that V'd backlight, as V'd as it is, they had to put they ground a V in the glass, on the inside of the glass, and they heat bent it.
That's that little line that's in the middle there?
That's actually a groove.
So that's for a hot wire then? Or?
I think that was a hot wire that they used in order to bend it. You know, I might be entirely wrong on that, but that's my recollection as to how that got that way. One of the hardest parts, I guess, to stamp on this car really took, you know, Fisher Body were responsible for the body.
Yeah.
And the car divisions are responsible for the front clip. You know, like from the front door cut. You know, like Cadillac would have been responsible for all the front fender, the cowl, the hood. And Fisher Body is responsible for the total body. And this part here ended up being one of the hardest parts to stamp because it's got the crease and it's folded over, and it's also got crown to it, crown and profile. You know, if you look at a lot of those older designs that had the fins, a lot of them were two-piece stampings, and then they had a chrome piece on the top there to cover the flange, and the flange was welded.
Wow.
But Stan Parker, the chief designer, told me that this is one of the hardest parts that he had to deal with when he had to deal with Fisher Body.
How about the trunk lid too? That has to be a pretty complicated piece there.
It is, yeah. the crown, and the change in surface, going around that. But I think the hood is even more complex than this is because it's a deeper draw.
Now here on this car, the reverse lights are in the bumper. Those later changed. I mean, on my '69, it's got the single reverse light on the door.
Yeah, it went into the door here. And I don't recall why we did that, except probably for change. This is the gas filler door, because they wanted a center fill. Back then, everybody had center fill gas caps.
Well, nowadays you have to have the lock on it because there's probably about $300 of gas in the car.
It's about 26 gallons at about $5 a gallon today.
$125, gas.
Yeah, okay. So,
but you were saying this hood is a two-piece hood?
This is a two-piece hood. It's stamped in two pieces, and then it's pinch welded, and then there's a depression that this molding sits in. And it's metal finished from about here on down. And there's a little part at the back there that's metal finished. And I remember when we were doing this, we were told like about $1 an inch to metal finish any part on a car, because they used lead back then.
Okay.
And then they had to file it. They used hot lead, and then they'd file it. So. Okay, $1 an inch. That's quite a bit of money for a car. Back then, if you can save 50 cents on a car, you were really doing well, and you were encouraged to save by how you design cars too.
Even a Cadillac.
Even a Cadillac. 71 ended up being a one-piece hood.
Oh, okay.
And we saved about $9 a car. And that's another story.
This is the piece that you were talking about where the lady, George L. was trying to explain to the lady that fit is crucial. Because
this is a stamped fender, and this is the die cast part. Now, die castings are pretty much the same every time. They come out of a mold. And but there are only so much width here from the outer to the inside, which is consistent for all the parts that are die cast. Now when you get into a stamp fender, there's some spring back. So, what was happening was that we had a gap here that we were getting complaints about, and so George L. just went through the plant, him being the works manager, and found the lady that was working on the line and explained to her the importance of her job. And so I guess it was determined that we really needed to make a change because it wasn't her fault, it was really the design. So that was changed to a lamp. The lamp was taken out of the bumper and put into the end cap. And that's how that happened.
That's right, these are vacuum operated, aren't they, the pull down?
Yeah.
And you still got the box for the jack and everything. Yeah. Wow.
I had a guy at a car show ask me, how many bodies can you get in this thing? And I looked at it and says, I'll crawl in, I'll give you an answer. Just being a smart ass. We used to have a target for the trunk volume. And I remember the smallest that we wanted to be was 14 cubic feet. Like the Seville is 14 cubic feet. The old one and the new, I shouldn't say the old one, was the 76 and the 80.
Now this is the only year of the 429. I think the next year was the 472.
Yes.
And you've got, I see the automatic load leveler there. Some people wonder what this thing is hanging on the strap.
That's exactly what it is. It's vacuum operated. It's like a compressor, I guess. You might call it a compressor.
And then I think it sucks in air that's after the air filter on the air cleaner.
I believe it does.
Yeah. And these have the heater control valve that it doesn't
Yes.
have a blend door, but it varies the amount of coolant that goes in and out of the heater
Right.
core.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now yours is a California car, so it's got the air.
It is. It's got the
Pump.
air pump. So the air pump's on the other side.
Yep, I see it down there.
And it's a real pain because I had to change the fuel pump, and it's right in the way of the fuel pump.
Now, most people, you mentioned this is front-wheel drive. For the viewers, it's longitudinally mounted. You know, most people are familiar with the transverse mounted.
It has a chain that's connected to the torque converter, and then the transmission sits on the side of the engine.
Yeah, so here's, as Wayne's saying, the torque converter is behind the engine here, and then there's a chain that drives, basically the transmission is pointing forward in the car, and then there's a front differential, and you can see the half shafts here that, if I can get it, that drive the front wheels. This was even used on the GMC motorhomes of the era, but with the Olds V8.
Yeah, I think that was the transmission's the same as on a GMC motorhome. I think they used an Oldsmobile Tornado engine.
They did. This is torsion bar front suspension too.
It is.
Single leaf rear, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
This is your
Coffee can?
This is your vacuum.
You got that from
storage.
Folgers, right?
Well, it came with a car. It looked like it came from Folgers. It's about the same size. I bet that's probably where they got it.
I wouldn't
Same manufacturer.
doubt it.
Just welded a bracket on it. And probably a connector for all the vacuum. The vacuum lines on the thing are really hard to maintain because it's hard to follow them. Even the air conditioners vacuum operated, the controls.
Oh, that's right.
So you have vacuum lines going to the air conditioning controls, and then you've got vacuum lines that go to the door locks.
They are vacuum. Wow. Yeah, a little reserve. Yeah, I can hear it. Ford really used the vacuum a lot on the door locks. I didn't realize that GM did on the Eldorado.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that.
Because mine's electric by 69.
Yeah.
But they even have, this is a reserve tank, I think, for the headlight systems here.
For the headlights, yes.
Yeah. And is this for the air pump?
It is.
A filter.
Yep.
Wow.
It's a canister.
Cruise control.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever seen one mounted vertically like that. That's
3 horns.
Oh, you have the. Was that an option? 3 horns?
I think.
Like a trumpet horn?
I think it was. Well, I'm not sure of that. You know.
Because I remember later they had the trumpet horn. Remember?
Yeah, Cadillac always wanted a different sound. You know, you asked earlier about the tail light, how we got to that.
Yeah. So this was another hard fit because this was die cast,
that's right.
was stamped, so this would flex.
Yeah.
And this.
Yeah. Well, over time, you know, I think they made 200. No, they made 24,000 of these cars in 1967.
Mm-hmm.
So 24,000 stampings, you know.
This in the 71, this trunk was even more complicated, wasn't it, to stamp?
Yeah, it was. That's another story.
We'll save that one for.
Okay. That goes with the hood.
Who did the interior on these? Do you remember?
You know, a guy named George Moon. He was the chief designer for the interior.
Is this leather or is this vinyl on these?
No, this is leather.
I remember they had the houndstooth
Yeah,
interior.
houndstooth was standard.
And then they changed the dash design, I think, after.
Yeah, that's right. 1 year.
Because this has the pull handle in the door, right?
And that's another thing that Calvin Werner took out.
This pocket on the door?
No, actually, there's 2 door handles on each door.
Yes. Oh, I see.
So somebody from the back seat can get out without reaching over to grab if you look at the door handle for the driver, it's way up front.
Yep.
Then there's another door handle in the back. So somebody in the back seat can get up. And there's one here too, on both doors.
I see.
And then I'm trying to remember what year, but Calvin Werner also looked at that as a way to reduce the cost. It eliminated the handle on one side.
On the driver's side?
I think the driver's side.
Yeah, because mine I think just has this on the passenger side in 69.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the 69 interior wasn't as rich either. They went to that common IP design, I think, with the DeVille or the safety padded instrument panel. This one was a little bit, I think, richer.
I think with 69, they went into some kind of an interpretation for the seat backs for the driver. The 69 Cadillacs had huge seat backs.
Yes.
Very high.
Yes.
And I think it was somebody's misinterpretation of what the law was to read. And, it's kind of like always try to do the right thing, and then because you can afford it, you did it, and somebody else that couldn't afford it didn't do it, and then all of a sudden you get criticized because you don't look right.
I never thought of it, but you're right. The Cadillacs have the very high back seats with the big headrest.
That was 69.
Yeah. Mine has the big high back seats with the headrest.
Yeah. This is an interesting feature right here, this vent. And that's instead of having a vent in the door,
Oh, and the lock pillar?
Yeah, to vent the interior.
Oh, you've got the dial of cruise control too.
Yeah, I do.
This is a loaded car. All right, Wayne. Thanks again. Perfect. Thanks for watching this video walk around of Wayne Kady's 1967 Eldorado. If you liked the video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as that helps the YouTube algorithm serve it up to more viewers like you. And until next time, check out the video thumbnails at the bottom left and right for some video suggestions for you. And if you really enjoyed the video, feel free to hit the super thanks button, which is the heart-shaped icon with a $sign at the bottom right of your video viewer. If you haven't yet seen it, be sure to check out the interview with Wayne discussing the design of the 67 Eldorado, including some pictures of his sketches. You can find the link in the video description below. Thanks again for watching, and take care.